The voice drifted through the silent office tower long before sunrise, soft enough to be mistaken for the wind, yet powerful enough to stop a tired heart in its tracks. It wasn't the polished voice of a celebrity or the rehearsed performance of a professional singer. It was raw, aching, and filled with the kind of pain that only someone carrying the weight of the world could understand. Standing alone in the hallway, the CEO realized something impossible had just happened. For the first time in years, a song had made him forget about profits, deadlines, and board meetings. Instead, it reminded him of everything he had lost. Before we continue this emotional journey, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Single Dad Empire if you believe that kindness, second chances, and compassion can change someone's life. Your support helps us bring more heartfelt stories to people around the world. Morning sunlight slowly spread across the skyline as employees prepared for another busy workday inside the towering headquarters of Northbridge Technologies. The building was famous for its innovation, but very few people noticed the quiet man who protected it every night. His name was Elias Rowan, a 36-year-old security guard whose uniform had faded after years of use but whose dignity never had. Every morning, just before his shift ended, he walked through the empty lobby checking every door one final time. Believing nobody could hear him, he softly sang old songs that reminded him of better days. Those songs were never meant for an audience. They were meant for the little girl waiting at home. Elias lived in a tiny apartment across town with his 7-year-old daughter, Marin, whose smile somehow managed to brighten even the darkest mornings. After losing his wife to a sudden illness 3 years earlier, Elias became both father and mother. Every night he worked while Marin slept under the care of a kind elderly neighbor, and every morning he rushed home just in time to prepare breakfast, braid her hair, help with homework, and walk her to school before collapsing into a few hours of sleep. Life had become an endless cycle of exhaustion, yet Elias never complained. His daughter had already lost enough. What nobody at Northbridge knew was that before tragedy changed everything, Elias had dreamed of becoming a professional singer. He had studied music, performed in small theaters, and once stood only one audition away from signing with a respected recording company. Then his wife became seriously ill. Medical bills consumed every saving he had. His dreams quietly disappeared one hospital payment at a time until there was nothing left except responsibility. The music never truly left him. It simply became something he shared only with the empty hallways. That particular morning, CEO Adrian Mercer arrived unusually early after another sleepless night. His company had grown into one of the country's largest technology firms, yet success had brought little happiness. Since losing his younger sister years earlier, Adrian buried every emotion beneath endless work. Employees respected him, but many feared his cold, distant personality. As he stepped from the executive elevator, the haunting melody echoed through the marble corridors. He stopped walking. The lyrics spoke of hope surviving storms, of children smiling through hardship, and of broken hearts finding the courage to love again. Adrian remained perfectly still until the final note faded into silence. By the time he reached the lobby, the singer had already returned to his security desk, quietly filling out reports as though nothing unusual had happened. Adrian said nothing. Instead, curiosity settled deep inside him. Over the following week, Adrian intentionally arrived before sunrise each day. Hidden behind a corner, he listened without interrupting. Every morning the same voice filled the building with warmth the expensive architecture could never provide. Eventually he asked Human Resources for the security guard's personnel file. The report surprised him. No complaints. Perfect attendance. Excellent performance reviews. No disciplinary record. Yet the salary barely covered basic living expenses. Something didn't add up. Instead of relying on paperwork, Adrian decided to observe Elias himself. Later that afternoon, after the night shift ended, Adrian quietly followed from a distance. He expected the guard to head home and sleep. Instead, Elias stopped at a grocery store and carefully counted every coin before buying bread, milk, fruit, and a tiny chocolate cupcake. He smiled at the cashier despite obviously worrying about money. Minutes later he hurried toward an elementary school. Standing outside the gate was little Marin. The exhausted guard immediately transformed into an energetic father. He knelt to greet her with the brightest smile imaginable, lifted her backpack onto his shoulder, and handed her the cupcake like it was the greatest treasure in the world. The little girl laughed with pure joy. Adrian watched from across the street. For reasons he couldn't explain, the simple moment struck him harder than any business meeting ever had. The following days revealed even more. Elias volunteered during school events despite sleeping only a few hours. He repaired neighbors' broken furniture for free. He quietly donated blood whenever local hospitals requested volunteers. He even spent weekends singing at a nearby children's hospital, never accepting payment. Nobody knew. Nobody applauded. He simply believed kindness was something people should practice without expecting recognition. Then Adrian discovered the secret Elias had been hiding. One rainy afternoon he noticed the guard leaving work carrying a worn folder filled with handwritten music sheets. Curious, Adrian asked his assistant to investigate. The answer arrived the next morning. Every month Elias anonymously mailed original songs to a charitable foundation that produced free music albums for children receiving cancer treatment. The foundation listed the songwriter only as a friend who believes in hope. He had never claimed credit. He had never revealed his identity. Even the foundation believed the songwriter wished to remain completely anonymous. Adrian sat silently in his office staring through the window. For years he had rewarded loud ambition while overlooking quiet character. He realized he knew the names of investors across the world but almost nothing about the people working inside his own company. That realization became impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, life grew even harder for Elias. Marin suddenly became ill. Although doctors assured him it was treatable, the medication was expensive. Elias secretly accepted extra overnight shifts at another warehouse across town, leaving himself barely 2 hours of sleep each day. Dark circles formed beneath his eyes. His singing became softer. His smile became harder to maintain. Still, he refused to ask anyone for help. Every dollar belonged to his daughter. One particularly difficult morning, after finishing both jobs,